In tonight's headlines, in a boost to Hong Kong tourism, the Solo Traveller scheme is further expanded to 8 more cities, allowing more mainland residents from remote areas to visit Hong Kong. Amendments to the Building Management Ordinance will enhance fire safety and help tenants and landlords to carry out renovation work. And a United Nations resolution to include Palestine is passed with overwhelming support, urging the Security Council to grant full membership to the besieged enclave.
Residents from 8 more mainland cities can come to Hong Kong under the individual visit scheme. Starting on the 27th of this month, individuals from Taiyuan, Hahot, Harbin, Lhasa, Lanzhou, Xining, Yinchuan, and Urumqi can come to the SAR on a visit visa and do not need to join any travel group. The newly added 8 cities are provincial capital cities, which Chief Executive John Lee said have a high spending power. The travel scheme would boost the city's economy, Lee said in a statement. Tourism Chief Kevin Yeung noted that with the forthcoming expansion, all mainland provincial capitals are now covered under the scheme. He emphasized that the region has already geared up for the arrangement, and he believes that the tourists will have a smooth trip upon arrival. This was the second expansion of the individual visit scheme, after visitors from Xi'an and Qingdao were given the green light to visit Hong Kong 2 months ago. The city's flag carrier Cathay Pacific welcomed the move, saying that the expansion would strengthen the tourism sector by luring more tourists to Hong Kong. New Lucky House in Jordan, which was the scene of a deadly fire last month, had ignored safety orders for 16 years. Details of the violations emerged only after the blaze in the 60-year-old building ended up killing 5 people.
好多法團呢，佢哋都開唔到佢哋嘅業主大會。
Taking to the airwaves this morning, Home Affairs Minister Alice Mack pointed out that many owners' corporations were unable to hold meetings due to the pandemic. Even if they managed to arrange one, they were unable to reach a consensus due to disputes on the cost of renovation, she said. But Mack said the incident was a wake-up call for tenants of the multi-purpose premises in Jordan, as well as other old buildings, that repair work is crucial and has to be done as soon as possible. As of today, 43 buildings have completed the fire safety order with the help of the government's Fire Safety Direction Support Service scheme. Until March, authorities have reached out to 633 three-new buildings, structures that do not have an owner's corporations, any form of residence committee, and no property management services. While the government is looking to amend the Building Management Ordinance, Mack pointed out that the changes in the bill aim to provide incentives for tenants to be more involved in the renovation. Under the amendment, if every flat has to contribute over $30,000 for maintenance work, at least 5% of the owners have to attend the general meeting in person. But Mack emphasized that it is also crucial for landlords to fulfill their responsibilities in completing repair works. Janice Low, Cable News. Physicians have warned the public that the chances of death resulting from complications in severe cases of flu is high. People should get inoculated if necessary, as the current wave of seasonal influenza has taken the lives of 4 children so far. The winter flu season is most likely getting stretched and merging with summer flu season. Speaking on a radio program, Mike Kwan from the University of Hong Kong's Department of Pediatrics said the number of infections is high and currently there is no end in sight for the flu season. Kwan highlighted that most of the children who died suffer from encephalitis, which could trigger multiple organ failure, causing seizures or patients falling unconscious. Those infected could suffer from disability even if they recovered from the illness, Kwan added. He suggested making flu jabs mandatory, as it is the best preventive measure.
The United Nations General Assembly voted heavily in favor of granting Palestine full membership of the world body. The resolution received an overwhelming support of 143 countries, including China and Russia. The United States and Israel, along with 7 other countries, voted against, while 25 others abstained. In the wake of a 7-month war in Gaza, Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations Riyad Mansour urged the Assembly to support Palestine.
Voting yes is the right thing to do. And I can assure you, you and your country for years to come will be proud to have stood for freedom, justice, and peace in this darkest hour.
Meanwhile, Israeli ambassador to the United Nations Gilad Erdan condemned the vote as destructive, accusing the United Nations of welcoming a terror state into its ranks.
You are shredding the UN Charter with your own hands. Yes, that's what you're doing, shredding the UN Charter. Shame on you.
The approved resolution highlights that Palestine should be admitted to the United Nations and urged the Security Council to consider the matter favorably. It would also provide Palestine with new rights and privileges, including the ability to submit proposals and amendments, as well as make statements and explanations of votes. The path to full membership would require full approval from the Security Council, which the United States recently vetoed. Cheryl Yun, Cable News. Israel issued new evacuation orders to thousands of residents in the city of Rafah in southern Gaza as it prepares to step up its ground offensive. The move comes amid increasingly strained relations with Israel's staunchest ally in the war, the United States. A report drafted by the U.S. State Department suggested that Israel may have used American weapons in breach of international humanitarian law during its ongoing military campaign in Gaza. However, the document highlighted that the U.S. lacks complete information to make a comprehensive assessment, adding that Israel had to confront an extraordinary military challenge fighting Hamas. The report is one of the strongest statements made by the U.S. in recent days after President Joe Biden's earlier warning to suspend weapons shipment to Israel if they proceed with a full-scale offensive in Rafah. U.S. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby confirmed that Biden is fully briefed on the findings of the report and that they are closely monitoring the situation in Rafah.
I wouldn't go so far as to say what we've seen here in the last 24 hours connotes or indicates a broad, large-scale invasion or major ground operation. It appears to be localized near the crossing and largely with the forces that they had put in there at the beginning.
The Israeli military has released footage of their troops conducting raids in central Gaza's Zaytun area, eliminating terrorists and destroying their infrastructure in ground and aerial operations. Meanwhile, the southern Israeli city of Beersheba was struck by 5 rockets fired from Gaza yesterday. Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system intercepted 1 rocket, while the others fell in open areas. Hamas has claimed responsibility, calling it a response to the massacres against civilians in Gaza. Cheryl Yun, Cable News. Firefighters tackled a large blaze which broke out at an oil depot in the town of Rovinky in Russian-occupied Luhansk. 3 people were killed and 8 were hospitalized. The attack, launched by Kyiv, was reportedly carried out using U.S.-made artillery in retaliation after Russian forces launched a new offensive in Kharkiv. In a surprise move earlier, Moscow launched a ground offensive in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region, opening a new front near the borders of both countries. The town of Vovchansk was heavily shelled, prompting the evacuation of more than 1,700 residents and civilians from nearby areas. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry confirmed that Russian forces advanced 1 kilometer into Ukrainian territory and are trying to establish a buffer zone to prevent counterattacks from Ukraine, adding that Ukrainian armed forces repelled the Russian attacks while hostilities were ongoing. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia launched a new wave of counteroffensive actions, adding that Ukraine's artillery and drones fought back against the Russian offensive, but a fierce battle was underway. This marks the most serious cross-border offensive in 2 years. There has been no official comment from Russia. The United States has authorized another $400 million military aid package for Ukraine, including rockets, surface-to-air missiles, and armored vehicles, and declared continued support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.